No Christian on earth is following Jesus. Here's why one Jesus was not a Christian. The word Christian didn't even exist in Jesus' lifetime. Jesus never called himself Christian, never founded Christianity, never built a church. Acts 11:26 says the term Christian was created decades after his death in Antioch. 2. Jesus had no Bible. There was no New Testament when Jesus was alive. The Bible is a European compilation written long after him, in Greek and Latin. Jesus wasn't reading from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Those were written generations later by people who never met him. 3. Jesus wasn't preaching God. Jesus wasn't preaching about the Christian God. He was a Jew who followed Torah law, Mosaic law. He himself said he came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Matthew 5:17. His movement was called the Way, a sect inside Judaism, not a new religion. 4. No miracles, no magic. Stories of miracles, walking on water, turning water into wine, raising the dead, mirror older myths from European and Near Eastern deities. These are symbolic tales, not eyewitness accounts. Nobody who wrote about them ever saw them. 5. Jesus had no followers. He didn't have Christians following him. He had Jews who saw him as a rabbi, a teacher, maybe a reformer. Followers of Christ only came after Paul, a Roman citizen, invented the theology we now call Christianity. 6. Christianity is European religion. The Jesus of the Bible was repackaged into a European savior figure. Rome and Europe used this version to build empire, control nations, and colonize. That's why the richest church on earth is the Catholic Church in Europe, not in Jerusalem, not in Africa. 7. So let's be clear. Jesus never called himself Christian. He never had a Bible. He never taught Christianity. His real practice was Jewish law, the Way. Everything we know about Jesus the Christ is a European rewrite, not the man himself. No Christian today is following Jesus. They're following a European religion built on stories written long after he was gone. Step 8. Every Christian follows Paul, not Jesus. Open the Bible and look. Most of the New Testament is written by Paul. Letters to churches, theology, doctrine. Paul never met Jesus, never walked with him, never heard him preach. Yet Christians today follow Paul's rules. Romans, Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, etc., not Jesus' teachings. That means modern Christianity is Paul's religion, not Jesus. Step 9. The name Jesus didn't even exist until the 1600s, specifically 1611, with the King James Bible. Before that, you'll find variations like Jesus, Greek, or Yeshua, Yeshua, Hebrew, Aramaic. But here's the kicker. Even scholars admit nobody knows the exact name or pronunciation. That's why Jewish people don't preach Jesus, because in their own history, this Jesus Christ character doesn't exist as Christians claim, even in his supposed hometown. There's no record of the man Christians describe. That alone should be a massive red flag. Step 10. Christians don't study, don't research, don't question. They follow like sheep, quoting a European written book, practicing a European created religion, and worshiping a European Jesus invented centuries after the fact. The truth? Christianity is not the way of Jesus. It's the way of Paul in Rome. If you're a Christian, you're not following a Jewish rabbi named Yeshua. You're following European theology, built for empire. Final thought. If you were truly a follower of this so-called Jesus, you wouldn't be a Christian. You'd be a Jew, because that was his religion. Jesus wasn't Christian. He never preached Christianity. He followed Jewish law and taught the Way inside Judaism. Jewish people themselves don't preach Jesus as God, because in their own history, that figure doesn't exist the way Christians claim. That alone should tell you something. If his own people and his own culture don't follow him, then what are Christians really following? The answer is simple: a European religion. Christianity is not the path of Jesus, it's the path of Rome, Paul, and Europe's empire. If Jesus was real, following him would make you Jewish, not Christian. That alone proves Christianity is a European religion, not the way of Jesus.